Ambassador Sarah Chen stood in the massive crystal chamber of the Galactic Council, her dark eyes scanning the assembled alien dignitaries. The air hummed with tension as thousands of species watched through holographic displays. She was the only human present, a small figure among towering insectoid, Kethera, gaseous veil entities, and the crystalline shard collective. The Supreme Chancellor, a being that looked like living mercury with golden eyes, raised what passed for its hand. The Human Federation has been accused of operating illegal military installations on 17 Deathworlds. How do you answer these charges, Ambassador Chen? Sarah's lips curved into a slight smile. Around her, translators buzzed frantically, as dozens of species tried to understand human facial expressions. Most aliens found human emotions utterly alien, especially the concept of finding humor in serious situations. Your Honor? Sarah began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. We're not operating military installations on Deathworlds. We're living there. Those are our colonies. A ripple of confusion passed through the assembly. The Supreme Chancellor's form shifted, betraying uncertainty. Living there? Ambassador, our surveys confirm these worlds have gravity 3 times. Galactic standard. Atmospheric pressure that would crush most species. And predatory life forms that register as Class X threats. Sarah nodded casually. Yes, New Tasmania has some interesting wildlife. The drop bears there are particularly entertaining. My daughter lives there now, runs a farming operation. The Kythera representative, General Vax-High, clicked his mandibles aggressively. His species had conquered 40 systems through sheer military might. But even they avoided Deathworlds. Impossible. The radiation levels on Kepler, 4.4.2 C, would kill any organic life within hours. You're thinking of the poles, Sarah replied, checking her tablet with the same casualness someone might use to review a lunch menu. The equatorial regions only get moderate radiation. Great for growing coffee, actually. We export it to 7 systems now. Murmurs of disbelief echoed through the chamber. The Shard Collective's spokesman, a being of living crystal, resonated with harmonic concern. Ambassador Chen, we have monitored seismic activity on these worlds. The tectonic instability alone should make habitation impossible. Sarah shrugged. Earthquakes keep things interesting. Good for the construction industry, too. We've developed some excellent building techniques. Would you like our engineering reports? I'm sure our architects would be happy to share their innovations. The Supreme Chancellor leaned forward, its mercurial form rippling. Ambassador, perhaps you don't understand the severity of these accusations. The Kythera Empire believes your colonies are actually military bases designed to train human soldiers in extreme environments. They view this as preparation for aggressive expansion. We have properly laughed. They Racing 2-4, General Vax-High rose to his full 8-foot height, his exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber's lights. The human military presence on these worlds violates 17 galactic treaties. We have evidence of weapons testing, combat training, and the development of biological warfare agents. Sarah turned to face the Kythera general directly, her expression shifting from amused to genuinely puzzled. General, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Those aren't weapons testing sites. They're schools. The silence that followed was deafening. Every translator in the chamber seemed to malfunction simultaneously, producing confused static. Schools? The Supreme Chancellor finally managed. Educational institutions, Sarah clarified helpfully. Where we teach our children. The combat training you detected is probably physical education class. The biological warfare agents are likely the science lab's bacterial cultures. Mrs. Patterson's 7th grade biology class is studying extremophile bacteria this semester. General Vax-High's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. You send your offspring to these death worlds for education? Of course. Where else would we send them? The gravity is good for bone development. The atmospheric pressure helps build lung capacity, and dealing with the local wildlife teaches excellent problem-solving skills. Sarah paused, seeming to remember something. Oh, and the food chain dynamics make for wonderful ecological studies. Last month, the students on Proxima Nightmare tracked a pack of crystalline wolves that had learned to use magnetic fields to hunt. Fascinating creatures. The Veil representative, a being of sentient gas contained within a force field, pulsed with colors indicating deep confusion. Crystalline wolves? Those creatures can phase through solid matter and generate electromagnetic pulses capable of disabling starship systems. Yes, that's what makes them such excellent study subjects, Sarah agreed. Though the kids have to be careful during feeding time. We lost 3 hover drones last week when a pack decided they were territorial threats. The chamber erupted in chaos. Species that had never agreed on anything suddenly found common ground in their shock at human child-rearing practices. The Supreme Chancellor struggled to restore order, its form flickering with stress patterns. Ambassador Chen, it said once quiet returned. Are you seriously telling this council that humans routinely expose their young to environments that our combined military forces classify as unsurvivable? Sarah looked genuinely surprised by the question. How else would they learn to survive? You can't properly prepare children for adult life by keeping them in safe, comfortable environments. They need challenges, obstacles to overcome, problems to solve. She gestured toward the viewing screens, showing images of the disputed worlds. These planets teach resilience, adaptability, and creative thinking. They're perfect for education. General Vaxhai stood again, his entire posture radiating menace. The Cathera Empire does not accept this explanation. Your species represents a clear threat to galactic stability. If you can survive on death worlds, if you can raise your young in conditions that would destroy our finest warriors, then you are a military threat, whether you admit it or not. The chamber fell silent again. But this time the quiet carried weight. Sarah felt the shift in atmosphere, the moment when confusion transformed into fear, and fear began its inevitable evolution into aggression. General, she said carefully, I think you're misunderstanding our nature. Humans aren't trying to threaten anyone. We're simply living our lives, raising our families, and exploring the galaxy like everyone else. Living your lives on worlds that serve as natural fortresses. Vaxhai's voice rose to a harsh screech. Training your young in environments that would kill our soldiers. This council must see the truth. Humanity is preparing for war. Sarah sighed quietly, already reaching for the emergency communication device hidden in her diplomatic pouch. Around the chamber, she could see other species beginning to align themselves with the Kythera position. Fear was spreading like wildfire through the assembly. And she knew from human history how quickly fear could become violence. The Supreme Chancellor raised its hand once more, but its voice carried new authority. In light of these revelations, this council will consider the Kythera Empire's formal request for preemptive military action against human Deathworld installations. As the chamber erupted in debate, Sarah quietly activated her emergency beacon. Somewhere in the vast darkness of space, human ships would soon receive her signal. She only hoped they would understand the true gravity of what was about to unfold. Admiral Marcus Webb received Sarah Chen's emergency transmission while his fleet conducted routine patrols near the Kepler system. The coded message was brief but clear. Diplomatic breakdown imminent, potential military threat. Prepare for worst-case scenario. Webb had commanded the 3rd Human Fleet for 12 years, but he'd never faced a situation quite like this. His ships were exploring vessels, equipped for research and colonization support, not major military operations. Still, when humanity had first ventured into the galaxy, they'd learned to prepare for unexpected situations. Communications. Get me a channel to Earth Command. Webb ordered from his command chair, aboard the exploration vessel. Determination. Priority. 1. Encryption. Lieutenant Commander Janet Rodriguez, his communications officer, worked swiftly at her console. Channel open. Admiral. Earth Command is standing by. Fleet Admiral Catherine Hayes appeared on the main screen, her expression grave. Marcus, we've been monitoring the Galactic Council proceedings. The situation is deteriorating rapidly. Webb nodded. What's our current assessment, Admiral? Intelligence suggests the Kythera Empire is pushing for immediate military action. They've convinced several species that our Deathworld colonies represent existential threats. Hayes paused, consulting her tablet. The irony is that they're not entirely wrong about our capabilities, just wrong about our intentions. Orders, ma'am? Maintain current position, but prepare for rapid deployment. If the Council authorizes military action against our colonies, we'll need to respond quickly. Hayes leaned forward. Marcus, this could escalate beyond anything we've faced. The Kythera Empire has alliance agreements with 47 species. If this becomes a full galactic war, Webb understood the implications. Humanity had achieved a lot in their short time among the stars, but they were still newcomers. In a straight numbers game against the established galactic powers, the odds were overwhelming. Admiral, Rodriguez interrupted. We're receiving another transmission from Ambassador Chen. She's requesting immediate extraction from the council chambers. Hayes frowned. That's not protocol. Sarah wouldn't abandon negotiations unless she knows something we don't, Webb finished. Rodriguez, prepare a stealth shuttle for ambassador extraction. Use the diplomatic immunity protocols. Before Hayes could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the fleet. Webb's tactical officer, Commander Singh, called out urgently, Admiral. Multiple warp signatures detected. Large fleet formation dropping out of hyperspace at the system's edge. The main screen shifted to display long-range sensors. Webb felt his stomach tighten as the readings came in. 47 ships, predominantly Kythera design but with escorts from at least 6 other species. Admiral Hayes, Webb said quietly. I think our timeline just accelerated. On Earth, Admiral Hayes was already coordinating with other human fleet commands. Marcus, the Kythera have deployed a significant force to your location. Intelligence suggests they're planning to blockade the Kepler system as their opening move. A blockade? Webb studied the tactical display. Admiral, they're positioning to attack our colonies directly. Those aren't blockade formations. The realization hit both officers simultaneously. The Kythera weren't planning gradual pressure or diplomatic leverage. They intended to strike first and destroy humanity's ability to use Deathworlds for military purposes. All ships, battle stations, Webb commanded. This is not a drill. Throughout the human fleet, crews scrambled to prepare for combat. The Determination and her sister ships had been designed for exploration. But human engineering had always included certain assumptions about the universe. Space was dangerous, filled with unknown threats and hostile environments. Every human vessel carried defensive capabilities, and crews trained for emergency situations. Admiral, Singh reported. The alien fleet is breaking into 3 formations. 2 groups are moving toward Kepler, 4, 2C, and New Tasmania. The third is heading directly for us. Webb studied the tactical situation. The aliens had superior numbers and, presumably, dedicated warships. But they were also making assumptions about human capabilities based on galactic standard ship designs. Communications. Open a channel to the alien fleet. The main screen flickered to display General Vaxhai himself, his mandibles clicking with aggressive anticipation. Admiral Webb, I presume you will withdraw your forces from this system immediately and prepare to surrender the illegal military installations on these Deathworlds. Webb kept his expression neutral. General, those aren't military installations. They're civilian colonies with families, schools, and research facilities. Your ambassador's lies will not be tolerated further. Vaxhai's voice rose to a harsh shriek. We know what humans are capable of. We have seen your Deathworld survivors. Your impossible adaptations. Your refusal to acknowledge proper fear. You will not turn this galaxy into another Earth. The communication cut off, leaving Webb staring at a blank screen. Around him, his bridge crew waited for orders, their faces reflecting the gravity of the situation. "Admiral," Rodriguez said quietly, "Ambassador Chen's shuttle has cleared the council station. She's requesting permission to come aboard." "Granted." "And Rodriguez? Tell the ambassador to prepare a comprehensive brief on galactic military capabilities. I have a feeling we're about to need every advantage we can get. Now." 20 minutes later, Sarah Chen stood in the Determinations briefing room, her diplomatic composure finally cracking to reveal the stress beneath. "Admiral, they're not going to listen to reason. The Cathera have convinced most of the Council that humanity represents an evolutionary threat to galactic civilization." Webb leaned back in his chair. "An evolutionary threat? They've done their homework," Sarah explained, pulling up holographic displays showing human colony worlds. "They know that we can survive in conditions that kill other species. They know our children adapt to environments that would challenge their best soldiers. From their perspective, we're not just another spacefaring race. We're a species that could potentially colonize any world in the galaxy. And they see that as a threat?" Sarah nodded grimly. "Most galactic species evolved on worlds with relatively mild conditions. They've built their entire civilization around the assumption that only certain types of planets can support life. We've shattered that assumption, and they're terrified of what it means for their long-term survival." Before Webb could respond, Singh's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. "Admiral, to the bridge. The alien fleet is beginning their attack run on New Tasmania." 2. Webb and Sarah rushed to the bridge, arriving just as the tactical displays showed the first exchanges of weapons fire. The alien fleet had divided into precise formations, approaching the human colonies with textbook military coordination, but something was wrong with their approach vectors. "Singh, are they maintaining standard orbital approach patterns?" Webb asked. "Yes, sir. Textbook assault formation for a low-gravity world, with minimal atmospheric interference." Sarah and Webb exchanged glances. "Singh," Webb said slowly, "what's the actual gravity on New Tasmania?" 3.7 times galactic standard, sir." "And the atmospheric pressure?" Singh's voice trailed off as understanding dawned. On the tactical display, the alien fleet was approaching New Tasmania as if it were a normal world. Their ships, designed for galactic standard conditions, were not accounting for the massive gravitational forces that human colonists dealt with daily. The first Kithera assault ship hit New Tasmania's atmosphere at the wrong angle and immediately began tumbling out of control. The pilot, trained for standard planetary approaches, couldn't compensate for gravitational forces that were nearly 4 times stronger than expected. "Admiral," Sarah said quietly, "I don't think they really understand what they're attacking." Webb watched as 3 more alien ships struggled with atmospheric entry, their pilots clearly fighting controls that weren't responding as anticipated. The aliens had declared war on humanity's Deathworld colonies without truly comprehending what made those worlds so deadly. "Communications," Webb ordered. "Open a channel to the Kythera fleet. All frequencies." General Vaxhai's image appeared again, but this time his mandibles were clicking with confusion rather than aggression. Behind him, Webb could see the chaos of a command center dealing with unexpected problems. "General," Webb said calmly, "your ships are in trouble. Would you like our assistance with planetary approach vectors?" The silence that followed spoke volumes about how quickly the Cathera's confidence was evaporating. General Vaxhai stared at Admiral Webb's offer of assistance, his compound eyes reflecting the chaos of his command center. Behind him, alarms blared as his assault fleet struggled with gravitational forces they had never encountered in actual combat operations. "You offer assistance?" Webb's expression remained calm, almost sympathetic. "General, your pilots are about to crash into a planet because they don't understand the physics involved. Politics aside, I'm not going to watch good soldiers die from preventable mistakes." On the tactical display, 2 more Kythera ships were spinning out of control as they attempted to establish orbit around New Tasmania. Their engines, designed for normal gravitational conditions, were operating at redline levels just to maintain stable flight paths. "Admiral," Commander Singh reported quietly. The lead Kythera assault ship is in critical distress. Their hull is beginning to buckle under atmospheric pressure. Sarah Chen watched the unfolding disaster with growing concern. Marcus, if those ships crash into the colony zones, Webb understood immediately. The alien ships weren't just endangering their own crews. They were potentially threatening the very civilians they claimed were military threats. The irony was bitter. But the human colonists on New Tasmania included families with children. Exactly the people the Kythera thought were being trained as super soldiers. Communications, emergency frequency to New Tasmania Colony Control, Webb ordered. Alert all civilian areas to prepare for possible ship impacts. Implement emergency shelter protocols. General Vax High overheard the transmission, his translator providing real-time interpretation. You warn your military installations? General, they're not military installations, Webb said patiently. Sarah, show him the colony surveillance feeds. The main screen split to show live feeds from New Tasmania's surface. The images revealed sprawling agricultural zones, residential areas with playground equipment clearly visible, educational facilities where children could be seen through classroom windows, and research laboratories studying local flora and fauna. Vax High stared at the feeds in confusion. These are families? General, may I suggest we postpone the philosophical discussion until after we prevent your ships from crashing into a school? Webb's voice carried gentle urgency. My navigation officer can provide orbital approach assistance, if you'll accept it. The Kythera general's pride warred visibly with practical necessity. Around him, his officers were reporting increasing difficulties as more ships struggled with New Tasmania's gravitational field. The planet that humans casually called home was proving to be a nightmare for ships designed according to galactic standard specifications. Very well, Vax High said finally. We will accept your assistance. Lieutenant Rodriguez quickly established communication links with the Kythera navigation teams, while Commander Singh began transmitting corrected approach vectors. What followed was perhaps the strangest moment in galactic military history. Human officers providing real-time tactical support to an alien fleet that was actively trying to invade human colonies. Kythera 7. Adjust your entry angle by 15 degrees negative, Rodriguez coached one struggling pilot. The atmospheric density is much higher than your computers are calculating. You need to compensate for increased drag coefficient. Acknowledged, human vessel, came the response. Our instruments are registering impossible atmospheric pressures. That's normal for New Tasmania, Singh added helpfully. The colonists actually use those pressures for industrial applications. There's a glass-blowing facility that produces some incredible artwork using the atmospheric pressure differential. Gradually, the Kythera fleet managed to achieve stable orbits around New Tasmania, though their ship systems were operating well beyond normal parameters. General Vax High's confusion was evident as he studied the colony layouts below. Admiral Webb, he said slowly. Our intelligence indicated massive, defensive installations. Where are your planetary defense systems? Webb and Sarah exchanged glances. General, what did you think were defensive installations? The massive geometric structures, the energy readings that suggest powerful shield generators, the seismic activity that indicates underground military complexes. Sarah pulled up geological surveys of New Tasmania, highlighting the features the Kythera had identified. General, those geometric structures are agricultural terraces. The energy readings come from geothermal power plants. The colonists use the planet's volcanic activity for electricity generation. And the seismic activity. She paused to check her notes. That's mostly mining operations. New Tasmania has rich mineral deposits that the colonists extract for trade. The silence on both the human and Kythera ships was profound. Slowly, the reality of the situation was becoming clear to everyone involved. You use this Deathworld for farming? Vax High's voice carried disbelief. And education, research, manufacturing, and family life, Webb confirmed. We adapt to the conditions because that's what humans do. We don't see them as weapons or military assets. They're homes. 1. Commander Singh suddenly straightened at his console. Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from the colony surface. The residents are inviting the Kythera landing parties for dinner. The main screen displayed a message from New Tasmania Colony Control. Attention, visiting Kythera fleet. Colony Administrator Johnson extends an invitation for cultural exchange. Tonight's community dinner features locally grown ingredients and traditional Earth recipes adapted for New Tasmania conditions. All visitors welcome. Please note that atmospheric suits will be required for non-adapted species. General Vaxhai stared at the invitation as if it were written in an alien language, which, from his perspective, it essentially was. They invite us to eat with them? He asked. We came here to destroy their military capability, and they offer us food? That's what humans do, General, Sarah explained gently. When strangers arrive, we try to make them welcome. It's how we've survived for thousands of years, by building communities, sharing resources, and working together to overcome challenges. Webb leaned forward in his command chair. General, I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding about human nature. We don't survive on death worlds because we're preparing for war. We survive on them because we refuse to let difficult conditions prevent us from living full lives. On the tactical display, more human ships were arriving as Fleet Admiral Hayes implemented emergency deployment protocols. But instead of forming aggressive attack formations, they were positioning themselves to provide assistance and support. General Vaxhai watched this deployment with growing bewilderment. Your reinforcements take defensive positions? General, we don't want a war. Webb said simply. We never did. We just want to live our lives, raise our children, and explore the galaxy like everyone else. If that seems threatening to other species, maybe we need to find better ways to communicate what human civilization is really about. The Kythera general was silent for a long moment, studying the peaceful scenes playing out on New Tasmania's surface. Finally, he spoke quietly to his own officers in his native language, then turned back to the screen. Admiral Webb, Ambassador Chen, I believe the Kythera Empire may have made an error in judgment. We all make mistakes, General, Sarah replied diplomatically. The important thing is learning from them. Perhaps. Vaxhai hesitated, then continued with obvious effort. Perhaps some of my officers would benefit from observing human colony operations directly, for educational purposes. Webb smiled. The first genuine smile he'd worn since the crisis began. General, I think Colony Administrator Johnson would be delighted to arrange tours. Fair warning, though. If you're staying for dinner, you might want to try the drop bear stew. It's a local delicacy. And Mrs. Patterson's recipe won third place in last month's cooking competition. As arrangements began for what would become the first peaceful cultural exchange between humans and Kythera, Admiral Webb reflected on the strange turns that galactic diplomacy could take. Humanity had faced the threat of galactic war and resolved it not through superior firepower or tactical brilliance, but through the simple human instinct to offer help to those in need and invite strangers to share a meal. In the end, the greatest weapon in humanity's arsenal wasn't their ability to survive on death worlds. It was their unwavering determination to remain human, no matter how alien the universe became.